Hey, Science 10s. This is Biology Lesson 2, so looking at cells and cell organelles. So it's midway through your booklet. There's a couple really big diagrams in there. So we're going to be looking at those. My personal recommendation, since I don't know if the sound will actually work, is a couple of videos that you can hop onto YouTube. So you guys probably know how I feel about Hank Green and Crash Course Guy. So I would recommend this animal cells. I think there's a plant cells one as well. If I click on it, I'm sure it'll start and be really loud in my ears. Oh, Jesus. I would probably look this up. So it's a Crash Course Biology course and have a watch of that. And then on the last page as well, there were some Khan Academy ones, which go over the organelles. So just to see it a couple of times, it's sometimes a little bit complex to kind of understand. So have a peek over those videos. These first couple of units, oh, Bozeman Science is really good too, usually. So these first couple of bio lessons, there's not really any worksheets. Usually I do candy cell labs and stuff like that, and microscope stuff, so there's not a whole heck of a lot. So I would just watch some of these videos to support your understanding. I'll post the links to them on D2L as well. So to get back to your notes package, good. So you have these two sets of diagrams in your notes package. Where is my pen that goes with the tablet? So these two sets of diagrams that have, there we go, some little letters for labels, and then you'll see the page after has kind of some of these cell structures, what they actually look like and what they are doing within the cell, what their role is within the cell. So let's look first at this one. So it probably looks a little more clear in my diagram than it does in what you printed. I know printing some of these images sometimes ends up just a huge mess. So this is, it says label the various components of these two cells. So this very first one is an animal cell. And the next page is a plant cell. So we'll look at how they differ. So the first, we're just going to label this part and then we'll talk about what the functions are, because if I talk about it now and then talk about it again, that gets pretty darn repetitive. So we're just going to label everything. So first, B is the nucleus. J is the nucleolus. I'll try to write as neat as I can this time. D is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. K is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Just writing that because it's so hard to write on my tablet. So the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. L is called the cytoplasm. G is a vacuole. E is called the Golgi apparatus. A is the cell membrane. M is a vesicle. C is a lysosome. F is the mitochondria. There's no label for it, but it can come up. So these little tube things that kind of look like Twizzlers are centrioles. And N, oh, it's kind of hard. N is a ribosome. It looks like specifically it's protein synthesis there, but that's pretty close to where it would be. So that's an animal cell. On the next page is plant cell. And so the lettering is the same for anything that is the same. So B, just like it was on the last page, is the nucleus. J, nucleolus. N is a ribosome. D is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. K is the smooth. A is the cell membrane. H is the cell wall. So we didn't see that on the last one. This. L is the cytoplasm. E is the Golgi apparatus. F is the mitochondria. I, you see, is not on the other one. It's the chloroplasts. And G, so on the other page we just had vacuole. In plants it's a little bit different. It's called the central vacuole. So there's a big central vacuole in plant cells. So just to highlight off a couple of those things that were unique to one and the other. Ooh, what's going on here? So cell wall, chloroplasts, and that large central vacuole are unique to plant cells. Centrioles, unique to animal cells. So to talk about what those are, and again, I would go have a watch of those videos quick, because we'll just kind of fly through this, but sometimes it's nice to see them all working together and just to see examples of different cells as well. Oops. I don't know if I'm going to be able to write small enough for that. We're going to do our best try. Let's try this. What does this do? Hello. Oh, that makes it so much fancier and so much harder to read. How did I do that? Oh, there we go. I want like pencil. Wouldn't that be better? I guess not. Okay, so just to talk about the cell structure. So these we all labeled on the last page, but now to talk about kind of what their function actually is. So a cell membrane is a protective barrier for the cell. It allows the transport of needed materials into the cell and waste materials out. It's important for cell interactions and communication and for recognition of molecules. So the cell membrane, it's the outside of the cell, but it has lots of different functions in terms of cell-to-cell communication and how things like tissues and organs work. So the cell membrane, if we're to draw a weird little cell here, cell membrane is just the outside part. It's the outer covering. The cytoplasm is a gel-like substance. Inside the cell membrane. So if we're to draw our same little weird bean cell, the cytoplasm is the stuff inside that's not organelles. It's kind of like I'm sitting in our spare room downstairs, and it would be all of the air around me. The organelles would be all of the other stuff, but the cytoplasm is everything else, but it's actually kind of liquid and gel-like within the cells, so it's not just air, but it contains the nutrients required by the cell to carry on life processes and allows for movement of organelles and nutrients. The organelles are suspended in the cytoplasm. So the nucleus and nucleolus, we kind of tie those together. The organelle, the nucleus is the organelle that contains the DNA, so deoxyribonucleic acid, which is the genetic material of the cell, and what DNA does is directs all cellular activities. So what compounds it's producing, when it will reproduce, so on. It is surrounded by the nuclear envelope. So it's just kind of, the nuclear envelope is just the membrane that's around the nucleus, and the nuclear envelope actually kind of disappears during cellular reproduction to allow genetic information to be copied and then split up. But it also has nuclear pores which allow transport of materials into and out of the nucleus. So it is selective. Not everything can get into the nucleus. The nucleolus is within the nucleus, and that's specifically where ribosomes are produced. So we have our weird little cell, we have our nucleus, and we have our nucleolus. Bloop. Can't really draw it. But look on the last page with your diagrams and see where the nucleus is. It's usually found quite centrally, pretty big. The cell wall is found in plant cells. So found in plants, also in bacteria and fungi. The cell wall is actually a very rigid frame around the cell that provides strength and support. It completely encloses the cell membrane, so it's actually outside of the cell membrane, and it just provides support for the cell so that it doesn't get smushed or anything like that. So cell wall. So usually we kind of represent plant cells relatively rectangular. I guess it would be more of a square or rectangular prism or something like that, over circular or anything like that, or spherical. Chloroplasts are also only found in plants. And some protists, they contain a pigment called chlorophyll that produces the green color, and each chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis. So Bio 20 bound people, you're going to really learn a lot of information about photosynthesis and what's actually happening at the level of the chloroplast. For now, we just know that it's important for photosynthesis. So the chloroplasts look like a weird little stack of pancakes. And lots of little stacks of pancakes, all kind of housed within a oval type shape. So vacuoles and vesicles. So these are, man, gotta do some cleanup. So vesicles and vacuoles are bound by a membrane, and they are the sites for the storage of nutrients, as well as the products of secretion, fats, and water. These structures store and transport material in and out of the cell. Plants actually have a large central vacuole. So we saw on the diagram that it has a really big vacuole right in the middle that's used for storing water. We know that plants have a really big dependency on water, and little changes in water can have a significant impact on a plant. Lysosomes, I don't think we really represented that on the diagram, but these are, oh yeah, actually we did, didn't we? Yeah, you see. So these are specialized vesicles within the cell that contain enzymes. So enzymes are just different type of chemicals that can cause something to be broken down. And so these enzymes are really strong chemicals that digest molecules. These can be used to digest nutrients and to break down wastes or unwanted materials, such as bacteria. They're sometimes called little suicide sacs because they will, if a cell needs to undergo cell death, sometimes they will kind of explode their lysosomes within them. And again, that's used for digesting nutrients and to break down other things. So, endoplasmic reticulum. So we have smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum. So the first one we're talking about is the rough endoplasmic reticulum, but it is a series of tubes that extend from the nuclear envelope. So if you look at the last diagram, they're usually really closely associated with the nucleus. And these series of tubes so the rough endoplasmic reticulum, sorry, that's the first one, it is associated with protein synthesis. So within the cells, proteins are being produced. So the reason this one's called rough endoplasmic reticulum is it actually has a whole bunch of ribosomes embedded within these tubes. So that gives it the rough characteristics. So ribosomes are important in, or are critical for protein production. So that's why the rough ER is called rough, and that's why it's important for protein synthesis. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is associated with lipid or fat production. So it doesn't have ribosomes. Again, ribosomes are important for protein synthesis. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is associated with fat production. It also packages lipids. So lipids is just kind of another fancier word for fat, and large protein molecules into vesicles. And from there, they're transported to the Golgi apparatus, which we'll see down here. So ribosomes I've already talked about. So they're granules. They're either on the endoplasmic reticulum or kind of free floating in the cytoplasm. And this again is where proteins are produced. And ribosomes again originated from the nucleolus. That's where they're made. So the Golgi apparatus is receiving different things from throughout the cell, but specifically things coming from the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And these are flat disc-shaped sacs involved in transporting substances. So it usually sorts and repackages material from the endoplasmic reticulum into vesicles and then transports them out of or to other parts of the cell. The Golgi apparatus is also where lysosomes are produced. So it's kind of like a post office in that it's receiving things, repackaging them, and then sending them off all over the place. The mitochondria, so rod-like structures. So I don't know how to describe, I haven't been drawing the other ones, but what the mitochondria usually looks like is a bit of a disc, and then it seems like it tried to fit something inside that was too big. It's got all these folds back and forth. So ribosomes, again, they can be housed within the endoplasmic reticulum. So if I had the nucleus, so your endoplasmic reticulum, you can have your rough and your smooth. So smooth. You just look at the diagram. You guys are better artists than me. The Golgi. I think the Golgi kind of looks like a, yeah, this is your Golgi. Looks, oops. So back to my mitochondria, now that I got distracted. So mitochondria, rod-like structures, they're the site of cellular respiration. So those chloroplasts or the site of photosynthesis, so they're only within plant cells. Cellular respiration occurs in both plant cells and animal cells. So cellular respiration is where chemical energy in sugars is converted into energy that the cell can use, so something called ATP. And the last one, centrioles, are cylindrical structures located just outside the nucleus, and they're important for cellular division. So they help kind of direct chromosomes to line up properly so that when the cell divides, it has the proper amount of genetic information. This will be hard to draw. They kind of look just like some weird sticks, bundles of sticks, I don't know. So most plant cells do not actually have centrioles. They would divide in a little bit of a different way in that they produce a new cell wall in between them. So those are the structures within the cell, so the organelles that are very important for directing cell activities. Again, go watch those videos. There is not an assignment for this unit. It's not until B4 that I think, actually we might have something in B3, so nothing for this, but go watch those videos. Bye.